Hey y'all, this is Kathy, and today I'm doing a video on vaginal exfoliation. And so for those who don't follow us on our Instagram account is the same name as our podcast account as well as our YouTube channel, which is at Voyage. So we put a post up a couple weeks ago in regards to having a pretty kitty, and it was just talking about kind of my own sugar scrubs that I kind of make at home. And so because of that, I got a couple questions in our DMs regarding sugar scrubs and what do you use and how often do you use it. And so because of that, I wanted to kind of make one video to kind of compile all that information into one so you can use it as a resource, and hopefully you can make your own scrubs at home that can kind of help to give you the kitty that you want, which is a beautiful, smooth, and luxurious kitty. So first I'm going to talk about the benefits of exfoliation, different types of exfoliations, and why you use certain products over others. And then I'm going to kind of do a step-by-step tutorial over my own sugar scrubs that I make at home. So I'll actually have all the ingredients out so you can see what I make and how I make it and the texture that I have it. And then I'll kind of end with a couple different tips on what you can do to kind of maintain your scrub good, especially in regards to having it in the shower and different things like that. So I'll go over some tips that I kind of learned as I went through my process of just kind of working through, just kind of making sure I keep myself in good health and in good beauty. So if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to DM us, comment, subscribe. Y'all know what to do. All right, you guys, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the benefits of exfoliation. I'll keep it short because I'm sure y'all want to get right to how to make your own scrubs at home. And so one of the first things about exfoliation that's so great about it is that it helps to prevent hair removal related problems. So things like ingrown hairs, bumps, things that are not really aesthetically appealing that you don't want down there. So one of the things you want to do is kind of make your own scrubs and use them more frequently so that you can avoid those type of problems. It helps to remove dead skin cells, gives the appearance of smoother, more glowing skin. And sometimes people ask whether they should use sugar or salt and whether salt would be better or not. And honestly, when it comes to salt-based scrubs, those are better for more rougher areas. For example, things like the bottom of your feet, like your heels. But when it comes to your intimate areas, you want to use things like sugar scrubs because the granules are a lot less smaller, so they dissolve a lot easier when it comes to hot water, so you don't have to worry about having your skin dried out. And you definitely don't want that when it comes down to that as far as your kitty goes. We got to keep that kitty pretty smooth and glowing, so we don't want to use salt down there. And God forbid you just shaved and you use a salt scrub, that shit is gonna fucking burn. So keep it sugar, keep it straight. And what I'm gonna do right now, you guys, is pretty much show you what I use. And the benefits also too about making your own scrubs is the fact that you know what you're putting in it versus store-bought scrubs. You don't really know some of these chemicals, you're not really sure how you're gonna react to it. And the benefits of just kind of using things that you normally kind of cook with is things that you don't have to worry about, that you don't know how to pronounce because it's some kind of random chemical that you never even heard of. So that's why I'm going to kind of talk to you guys about what I use, specifically the products that I use, and I'm actually going to make it firsthand so y'all can see me do it. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to timestamp when I actually start making a scrub. So for those who want to kind of revert back to this later on as a tutorial to kind of watch it in the future, you guys can go exactly to where you need to go to watch how I do it, and then we can call it a day. So first we're going to start off on exactly what ingredients I use to make my own sugar scrubs. So the first thing you want to start off with is you want to have a good tightly sealed container. So this container, for example, is a Talenti gelato ice cream container. We tried the ice cream out one time. It was kind of okay. But either way, I love the containers. They seem pretty cool. So I liked it. So that's why I kind of keep them around just to kind of be able to put my own sugar scrubs in it. Another example is our daughter's old gel containers. So whenever she runs out of that, we just kind of keep them around to kind of do the same thing, kind of refill it with our own sugar scrubs that we make at home. So pretty much any tightly sealed container that you prefer, we can be able to use and it'll work perfectly fine. Next thing is you want to have a good oil base. Some people use olive oil. I prefer to use coconut oil. So this is like a coconut oil I got probably from Walmart. Pretty standard. You can get it from Costco, Sam's, anywhere else. You can also use raw honey. I have that as an organic Walmart brand. I also throw in cinnamon in there. Sometimes I'll sprinkle in some nutmeg. And then of course you want to have the light brown sugar. So this is pretty much exactly what I use to kind of make my own scrubs. You can kind of mix and mingle when it comes to the cinnamon or the nutmeg, depending on your own personal preference. I kind of like all that, and to be quite honest, it's all edible, so it makes me feel safe in case my kids want to run around and eat mommy's sugar scrub. They know that they will be all right. So we're gonna go right into it. So first we're gonna start off like I said, with the empty container. I do have my spoon here, so we're gonna be kind of mixing as we go. So one of the things I like to do is I always want to start off with my sugar. And the reason why I want to start off with my sugar is because the fact that sometimes you can make it too oily based if you start off with the oil. So I like to have kind of like that sandy kind of feel, but not too abrasive. So that's how we're going to start off, pretty much kind of putting a majority of the brown sugar in first. So I'll kind of show you guys how much I put in. So we'll kind of throw a good, I like to fill it up about maybe halfway or so. Yeah, about a good halfway. Kind of shake it out a little bit. So we got the brown sugar in there, and then we'll kind of add in some of the coconut oil. Depending on the temperature of your house, it could be liquefied or it could not be. This is pretty smooth. So I kind of just throw a little bit of that in there, as you guys can see. And I honestly just kind of mix as I go. I don't like to throw it all in there and then kind of see how it ends up. I like to kind of add a little bit more of this or a little bit more of that, depending on how I feel. But like I said, I just kind of mix it all up. As you guys can see, the texture, that's kind of the texture that I like to go for. So once I kind of figure out the texture that I want, then I just kind of add a little bit more as I go. So I'll add in, for example, the ground cinnamon. I kind of put a dash of that in there. A little bit of nutmeg. I like the smell of nutmeg. It smells delicious. And then I'll throw in a little bit of honey. And then do the same thing. You want to just kind of mix it up a little bit. Now the cinnamon will make the color a little bit more darker. It doesn't really matter to me as far as what color it looks like. I just kind of like more so the texture. So I always want to add more brown sugar. You never want to go wrong with adding too much sugar, because you can always add the oil base after. But if you put too much oil, then it kind of takes over the whole container. And I just kind of learned that the hard way, to be quite honest with you. So I always put a lot of sugar. And then I'll just kind of add a little bit more coconut oil as I go. And I just kind of keep mixing it together. And to be quite honest, y'all, I really make a couple of these at a time just to make it a little bit easier. Not that it's that complicated to make it, but I think it's great that when you kind of run out of one, you already have maybe one or two already made, so you don't kind of start making excuses as to why you can't make a whole nother scrub because you're busy or whatever. So normally if I set time aside to kind of make one, I make a couple more. So as you can kind of see, this is kind of smooth. It's not too thick. This is really more now in regards to preference. So if you want it kind of more smoothly based, you can totally keep it like that. I like to keep it a little bit more thicker. So what I'll do is I'll just add a little bit more sugar to it. And just kind of mix it all up pretty good. So yeah, so this is pretty much what our scrubs end up looking like at the end of it all. So as you can see, it's nicely textured, nice and oily. You can tell it's full of moisture. And like I said, I just like it because it smells delicious, you guys. It literally smells like a dessert. So there's nothing wrong with that. So this is kind of like how I like to have my sugar scrubs. Normally towards the end of it, once I kind of know it's already filled to the top, I'll just throw in a little bit of extra sugar just because it doesn't really hurt to kind of add a little bit more sugar to it versus oil, because the oil will kind of take over the basis of the entire scrub. And if you want to add, for example, like maybe a little bit of honey towards the top, that's totally cool. If you want to sprinkle in a couple of little extra ingredients, and that's perfectly fine too. But as you kind of get towards the end of it, it's really just more preference on kind of how you want it. If you want it a little bit more tougher or not. I'm just kind of showing you guys how I like to kind of make our scrubs at home. And as you guys can see, that's pretty much how I make it. So I just kind of mix it up pretty good. Even when I use it in the shower, I kind of move it around before I actually put it on my body, just because of the fact that sometimes the particles could settle. So because of that, I just kind of move it around before I actually use it. But at least you guys know exactly what I use. Like I said, these are the exact ingredients that I use for my scrub. I literally make it, seal this bad boy, and call it a day. And now you have your own homemade sugar scrub. Now, of course, at the bottom, you might have a little bit of sugar sticking there, but you can always kind of move that around. But either way, you make your own scrubs, you know what's in it, and you don't have to worry about any kind of random chemicals that'll be kind of messing up your pH or anything that can affect your health. So you guys know exactly what I use. All right, you guys, so now you guys just saw me make my own sugar scrub. One thing I want to leave you with is the fact that in regards to waxing and shaving, waxing is way more beneficial just because of the fact that it's less abrasive on the skin, and you only have to do it every maybe 3 or 4 weeks, where with shaving, you have to do it a lot more often. Now, if you do want to shave, totally fine. The only thing is I would recommend is that for you to use a brand new shaver every single time you shave, because old razors carry unwanted bacteria, and all that does is cause ingrown hairs, acne, bumps, and those are all things you don't want. So of course, to avoid all of that, just make sure you use a new shaver every single time. In regards to maintaining your sugar scrub good, if you do have it in the shower, we keep ours in the shower. You want to make sure that when you use it, you don't exactly have it in the direct contact of water. So if you're taking a shower, kind of turn your back to the water so you can actually get the scrub and then use it, because we found out through trial and error is that when you have it kind of close to where the water is actually hitting, more water goes into the solution, which dilutes it, and then it makes it more water-based and really not as much oil or sugar-based, and it's less effective. So you definitely want to keep it out of the way of the water contact, just to kind of make sure you maintain the integrity of the scrub. And then on top of that, just make sure you at least scrub at least 3 times a week, and you always want to scrub on the days that you're not either waxing or shaving. So you don't want to freshly wax, freshly shave, and then scrub that same day. Always do it the day after, or maybe 2 days after, but aim for about 3 times a week, and you'll definitely notice the difference. I know with me, I've been doing that at home for a while now, and because me, I take a lot of pussy shots. That's just me, because I send them to daddy all the time. So I notice a difference on how they look. He notices a difference on how they look, and men, you can also use it too. So Bernard uses it all the time in the shower, literally all the time. So men can use it, women can use it. It's just a matter of maintaining those same kind of tips. So always, like I said, if you're gonna shave, use new razors. If you're gonna wax every 3-4 weeks, and you should be good to go. And other than that, hope you have a pretty kitty and a pretty penis. Bye.